Okay, so there's the sled. I actually made this for a Strat in the first place so that I have the contour just cut here and I can just pretty rapidly. If I were doing a lot of these in a row, it would make more sense, but since I already have the sled. So I'll just take the bandsaw over and I'll just cut that arc out. It's just the blade going straight down. Anytime you're going to be running something through a saw, especially a saw this size, well, any saw, come on. You don't want to cut yourself a little saw either. You want to make sure that, like in this case, I have these clamps holding the body to the sled. Just double check that if I'm basically following my line here, that I can do that and stay clear of all my clamps, which I can. So we're good. The other thing that I did on the way over was to just double check and make sure that this is indeed the top of the guitar for the belly carve, and it is on the back. So the trim route is on the back. The long horn is here, so this is the top, this is the back. We're good. Okay. It just, even if you're positive, it never hurts to go through that routine and make sure that you're just not looking at something backwards, because it does happen. Although that hasn't happened to me yet, but maybe because I'm double checking. Here we go. Okay, you end up with a cute little piece of wood like that. Notice I let it wind all the way down because this is a 1-inch blade with about 3 teeth, 4 teeth per inch. It could get really ugly really fast, so there's no reason, not in that big a hurry. Now I'm just going to realign this thing for the other cut, the arm contour. Now, if you will notice, I have horizontal lines here, and that's just so I can put the body down, because I can't have both contours cut in this thing. And then I just eyeball this and see that I'm relatively close to parallel with those horizontal lines. And I will now clamp that on. See if I have, nope, I have to get it over there. I'm just going to look at it since it's clamped and double check that parallel. Get away from it. I'm a little bit off. Needs to go up a fuzz. There we go. Very good. Now I am just going to re-squeeze these and do the same thing. I'm going to run through the routine. I'm going to make sure that there's nowhere that I could contact a clamp. If I was to get carried away and go way far, I could run into this one, but I'm not going to get carried away. This is the front of the guitar. That's the top. That's the arm contour. I'm good. Here we go one more time. as you can see, I definitely got the bulk of that waste cut off of those areas, and so I can go to sanding or radiusing, whichever direction I want to go in. Gonna go ahead and hit the deadhead sander with this, and you can see I took the bulk off for sure, but there's still a bit to go. And come up to this pretty close to this, and then I'll just radius it over. We try to keep this as flat as possible. It's not, I mean, a lot of people just kind of roll the whole thing in, but that's not really the fender look. So I'm going to keep it flat and just roll right over this edge here. The rest of this should be fairly flat, and then we'll blend this 7/16 radius in. I am going to run the dust collector for this. So you can see I'm still about 1/8 of an inch off the line here, but this is all flat, and I'll just hit this with the random orbit sander and just roll that over. I could just roll a little of it right here. It would be really quick to do that. Yeah, let's do that. So you can see we're looking really good right there. So by the time this is all sanded out, because you got no grain here at all, because what you're feeling here, or what, I don't know if you can see it. I can feel it and see it. It's a little rough, just because it was rough surface sanded in my my 60 grit sander. So I'm going to try this here. I'm usually more comfortable just hitting this with the random orbital and just working it down, but I'm going to try it on here and see how I do. I got this corner hanging out down here because I converted this sander, and this is kind of a problem. So I may or may not do anything with that there. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Yeah, so you can see I'm still a ways off my line here. I'm gonna clean this up by hand. Still got some deep cuts from the bandsaw, but I'll just clean this up by hand, and that should be dandy. Yep. And this is my halfway mark, so I'll probably take this in a bit farther too before I flare back out to that. So it should be thinner right in here, according to the belly. Yeah. All right, so I roughed it in with the orbital. I got like a 120 or something on there. I got 100 here on a cork block, using the edges with the radius. And it actually doesn't feel bad. I got a little bit of a high spot right here. The rest of it feels pretty good. I got a couple lumps. That's very good right there. Actually feels really good. Any more inconsistencies, I'll pick them up on the final sanding. Haven't done this yet. This is still just right from the machine. And rather than, there's no reason to take the orbital to that because it's already pretty flat. Feels really good. So all I will do here with the orbital is I'm just gonna sand right here and then just roll down over this edge, and that will get rid of any. I do have kind of a sharp edge right there. I'm just going to roll off of that, and that'll take care of that. I could probably do it by hand as well. That actually did the job with less noise. All right. We're going to move on to the radiusing at this point. I do have a piece of this little piece of wood sticking out here that I'm going to take a knife to and get it out of the way before I hit it with something and it tears it out. I always set these things up a little shallow from the full cut the first time around. I need to explain something to you here about this particular setup I have here. Making sure my router is off so that I don't throw the thing off the bench as it kicks. This framework here, as I've mentioned before, I had quite a number of strats lined up, and I freehanded one of them or two of them, I don't remember. And you know, anytime you're just on the edge of a body and you're freehanding, you run the risk of the router rocking one way or the other. So in the situation, I had so many to do, and I was kind of thinking about doing a lot of them at one point. And you might consider 5 of them being a lot, but I was looking at more than that. The point being is that I set up this exterior framework so that my router can travel quite comfortably around the entire radius of the perimeter of the guitar, and I don't have to worry at any point that the router is going to tip. It's always going to be supported, so it's quite nice. There are a couple places, even like right here, where it's a little thinner, but it's still plenty ample to keep the router from tipping. So that is why I developed this. Now I have this two-way taped just down on here just so it doesn't move around, although you know it wouldn't hurt anything except that I might get close to the edge here. I got a couple places where I might actually throw a little bevel on the opposite side. I was going to say, obviously you can't just flip this body over. If it were, and it may not be that obvious, but anyway, you can't just flip this body over, because then you'd have a long and a short horn that don't work together. If it was a symmetrical body, that would be different. So in essence, I did the same thing on the other side for the other direction. So I can run my radius, I can flip it over, run the other side, and then we're golden. If I had a lot of bodies going at the same time, I could theoretically tape 2 bodies in at the same time and run the partial cut, flip it, run the partial cut, and then lower the cutter finish the cut, flip it, finish the cut, and then have taken care of one side of two bodies. Yeah, at any rate, I don't think I need to worry about being all that production, but that was kind of the thought process behind it. I've had a couple bodies up on reverbs for some time and have gotten very little interest in them. I had one guy that basically wanted me to give it to him, as if the material wasn't worth anything at all. I'm going to go ahead and hook up the dust collector. It's probably not going to grab a lot of it, but it's got to help a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and throw it over. Yay team, here we go. Another thing I want to point out is that on the neck plate part of the heel here, you got to make sure you don't cut in past this area here, because then you'll be radiusing where your neck plate's at and it's going to be too close. So this just has to be blended in by hand after the fact. I'm going to go ahead and readjust the router. All right, I think we're wonderful. Be just a fuzz more. If you were to leave a little bit of a line there, you'd sand that right out. But obviously, you want to be careful. Let's see. Let's just start here. So that side's all done. Just a matter of, oh, I forgot to turn the dust on that time. Well, perfect. Let's do it now.